up through the most productive periods of jazz when it moved very, very quickly from 1940 right up into the 70s. But I was living it. I was right in the middle of it. I had to learn how to play a bossa nova. I had to learn how to play funk. Every week there was something new that seems to come around. Bill Evans comes in and starts his... I had to learn all those voice things, you know what I mean?
Hi, Know Me Now listeners. It's great to have you back here today. And today I have with me on Zoom Ted Howe, who is a jazz pianist and composer. He lives in LA. He is joining us from his piano studio at the moment. How are you going, Ted?
Good. Thank you for having me.
What was your favorite dream car as a young adult, if you had one?
You say dream car?
Yeah, your dream car as a young adult.
1961 Cadillac convertible, white with a red leather interior.
You know that very well. You must have really wanted it.
Yeah, I almost got one day, but yeah, still my dream car.
Mm-hmm. Well, next question. What was one of your dreams as a child, besides music? So if you had any dream, if you didn't pursue music, where would you have gone?
Well, all I ever thought about was music. That's it. I mean, that was it. All I ever dreamed about was being on records. You know, the old 78 records, my parents used to play them. And
Yeah.
my dream was to play. I didn't specify piano, just music, just get me on one of those records. That's what I wanted.
So Ted, if you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Duke Ellington, and Miles Davis.
I'll ask one about your family now. So how did your family impact your career? Like, how did it lead you towards music?
Well, my family didn't. My father did. He loved music. Never played, but he loved music. He bought all the old big band records in the 40s when I was 5, 6 years old. And I used to sit in front of the record player, they said, and just beat my head and beat my hands. And, and if they wanted to keep me quiet, they just put on a record and I'd go crawl over in front of the record player and listen, So the rest of the family didn't. No, my mom, actually, she thought it was crazy to go into music. She said, you got to get a real job with benefits. But I fooled them all. I did what I wanted to do. And my father supported me. And he loved a group called the Mills Brothers. You ever heard of the Mills Brothers?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there were 3 brothers, 3 black dudes, very, very popular in the 40s and 50s. They sang in harmony. And my mother's favorite entertainer was Sophie Tucker. You remember her?
Yeah, I know her.
Last of the Red Hot Mamas, they called her. Well, I played with both of them at a club in Boston.
Wow.
And after they came to see me play with their idols, they never bothered me anymore, at least my mom or my sister, about being in the music business. All she'd do is brag to her friends. She came every night. I got her seats every night to see Sophie Tucker. Then I brought her back to the dressing room to meet her. So it really came around. I got to grow up through the most productive periods of jazz when it moved very, very quickly from 1940 right up into the 70s. But I was living it. I was right in the middle of it. I had to learn how to play a bossa nova. I had to learn how to play funk. Every week there was something new, it seems, to come around. Bill Evans comes in and starts to learn all those voice things, you know what I mean?
Can you tell us then some of the highlights of your career? And maybe some of the highlights that you've had playing with different people.
Well, the beginning of my career, I wasn't really a jazz musician. I could play jazz, but I wasn't making my living at it. I was arranging and writing for acts, for singers, and all kinds of different acts. So I got to play with tons of, you probably don't recognize them all now, just big names that were very popular in the 40s and 50s and 60s, like Little Richie, who just passed away a couple days ago, and Fats Domino and Chubby Checker, all these people who are now either gone or in their 70s or 80s who are superstars. They're Neil Sedaka, the 4 Freshmen, Marilyn May, it goes on and on and on, Mel Torme. So I got to actually sit and play and conduct an orchestra for these people at a club in Boston for years. About 7 or 8 years I did. It was 7 nights a week. We did 2 shows a night, no nights off. But that's what I did for the first 8 to 10 years of my life. And then one of the acts that came in was a singer named Frankie Randall. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he was like the Michael Bublé, Josh Groban of the 60s. Sinatra started him out. He was the only singer Sinatra ever helped. And he became a star. I mean, he made movies and we toured all over the country playing supper clubs. And again, I was conducting and writing. And then I started doing, his manager managed all kinds of famous people. And I started getting some really upper scale writing, arranging gigs through his manager, ranging for all kinds of artists, you know. So that's because of all the experience I'd had playing in that club. That's 7 years, really. And I'm not going through my whole history, but after that, I got off the road, got married, started having kids. That's when I started teaching at Berkeley, which was another highlight, you know.
You were just sharing about how you met some of these people as you were going through. You met people like, Little Richard, played with him, and played with Fats Domino and people like that. But the real book is actually something that we can purchase today and we can use in our jazz studies or just in our own playing. But you were actually around when that kind of started. So can you share about the real book and how it started and maybe anything you had to do with it?
Well, I can know exactly what happened. It all happened at Berkeley. There was a bunch of students who needed to make some extra money. And there were no real books around. There were what we call fake books around, which were actually totally illegal because they were printed copies of the real sheet music. You know, that used to sell, people bought sheet music in stores and music stores, and even department stores even had a sheet music department. So anyway, long story short, these guys got this wonderful idea, you know, that why don't we make a book for people with the chords and the melodies, not the words, and we can sell these things because one of the kids' dads had a printing business. It's just a long story, but to make it short. So what these kids did is there's probably, I guess, 300 to 400 songs in the real book, maybe something like that. I've never really counted them. They didn't have the money to go out and buy the sheet music and then copy it all out and put it in a real book. They listened to recordings of these songs. So anybody that knows this music will tell you most of the stuff in that book is incorrect. The melodies are their best guess. They listen to Miles Davis play, you know, All of Me or something, you know.
Yeah.
And the only reference point they had was the way he phrased it and the way he played it, which is not the way it was written. And I learned them all from the original illegal books that had exactly the way the composer wrote it, with the exact chords and the right lyrics and the right melodies and rhythm. So, you know, when I first started playing gigs, when that book came out, and started playing with some younger guys, and bring their real book to the gig, you know, and I'd call something and then I see them going like this in the book, and I gotta sit there and I play my changes anyway. I mean, I don't know exactly how they're written in the real, but I just play them the way I learned them and the way that I was taught to do. And the poor bass players would go crazy because I wasn't playing half the notes, the chords that were in that real book.
I see that you've done some jazz dance music and released a few songs with that, and then you're also getting ready to release another album. So do you want to share maybe about some of those things?
Yeah, I got very interested in computer music years ago when I first started. And now with the way it's been, and boy, I'm glad I did, because I'm having a ball. I've been trading lessons with a young student like you who graduated from Berkeley and has a master's degree in film scoring. So he's got this electronic stuff covered, but doesn't know much about jazz. So he couldn't afford the lessons after a while. It wasn't getting enough work. And I suggested, why don't we trade lessons? You teach me how to run Logic. This was a few years back. And some other stuff I wanted to do, and I'll give you lessons. We'll just call it even. So, man, I started getting into it and just loving it. I got my whole room back here full with stuff now. And so I'm really into electronic music right now. And I've got 2 projects I'm working on. One is called JDM. It's an offshoot of EDM. And that stands for jazz dance music. I've taken a whole bunch of jazz tunes like Watermelon Man, Mercy, Mercy, Coming Home Baby, all these tunes that people like Ramsey Lewis and Joe Sample and made famous and made them stars, you know, in the 70s and 80s. But I'm doing it all with the computer. There's no piano on it. I play
Right.
piano parts and play all the parts, but I don't use a drummer. The whole thing's electronic. And now I've gotten into the smooth jazz world, you know. Now I know it sounds like kind of tacky. People think smooth jazz is, censored real jazz. But it's not. It's a different approach, and it has its challenges. You can't sit around and play crazy jazz when you're doing it. It's more of a challenge to me to make something out of nothing. Take something very simple and do with the electronics and all of the mixing and all the things you can do. Just make a product that's fun, and it's the main thing with me right now is it's accessible. Because I've played music, jazz music, most of my life. It's very inaccessible. Most people don't know what the hell's going on. And I get kind of tired of that when people you're playing and your heart out and they're looking at you like, what is he doing? They have no idea. So anyway, I've got 14 of the smooth. These are all original smooth jazz things, ready to go and be mixed. And we've done 3 already. They're edited and mixed. We're going to finish up hopefully in the late summer, early fall.
For those of you who are interested about the jazz dance music and want to hear more, I've actually attached some of Ted's links down in the comments below. So feel free to go and check them out and hear what this jazz music is all about. I've listened to some of them, and yeah, Ted, you've done a good job of both mixing and mastering all of the songs that you've shared on YouTube so far. But then also you have put little film clips up together for them, like animated film clips. Can you tell us a little bit about them and what inspired you to do that?
It's customary these days when you do a release, whether it's a single or an album, to have a kind of music video. And I didn't want to do the usual sitting behind a piano in the studio, walking on the beach. I didn't want to do that. So the tequila thing, I was trying to push that jazz dance music thing. So if you remember when you saw the video, it was just dozens of different people, nationalities, races, et cetera, dancing.
Yeah.
Everybody dancing, and all I wanted to do was put some humor in it too, just have a lot of that thing. When it starts off with the older lady, with all due respect, behind the turntable with her boyfriend doing this, and then we had those Cossack dances from Russia, and then all of a sudden, next scene, you see some contemporary people dancing in the office. Remember, there was a guy with a suit on, a whole bunch of people dressed up in business attire, dancing.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was to key the video into the music. So people would be, encouraged to maybe go out and buy it and say, this is fun. A DJ would play it rather than promoting from the artist point of view, sitting there at the piano and doing some stuff. No, this video got on a DJ pool. They call it a DJ pool. There's about 4 or 5 of them around the world. They started in Vegas. Anyway, what they are is they're places where you join. And DJs mostly join. These guys that work in the clubs, or it could be just a guy or a lady that have a DJ business that does weddings and Saturday afternoons and that kind of stuff. And then people post music that they like and say, try this, your fans are going to love it. Try this, try that. Well, the last time I looked, I've had 1,200,000 people watch that tequila video.
Wow.
Yeah. It was on one of the DJ pools. It's called Starfleet.
People can find out how to play these voices.
No secrets. You want secrets?
Yes.
Well, most everything I played is pretty dated. You know, the guy's been playing this way for many, many, many years. So there's nothing super contemporary about the voicings. Like the first chord is like a D7. It's all spread out. It's spread out over almost 3 octaves. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in it. Same with the next one. Okay. So they're basically from, I'd say, the mid-30s into the 40s. The way I play, and the style even, I play a little bit of what they call stride piano when I was playing when I'm playing it where there's something happening on every beat, you know. They're conservative, but they work. I'm 100% now online because of the virus stuff. And I'd never done it before. I actually thought maybe this is the end of it now. You know, but it surprised me. It's worked out just great. There's things you can't do when you're sitting next to somebody, but you know, you make up for it in other ways. So I am pushing my client base beyond just the LA area or even beyond the country. I got a student in Japan now. I got one in Holland and another one in Australia who lives in Sydney. So by being online and pushing it on my site and having the music coming out and getting all this, you know, attention and the videos and all that, it would really be fun to have this international roster of students, you know. It would be fun to have some people from other parts of the world. I got a book also that's about half done. I said what's needed in this area is a book that can equip you to pick up one of these other more advanced books and not be stuck at page 50 and have to call a piano teacher like me. I can't get past here. I don't understand what this guy's talking about, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on because it's, I think it's necessary. You know, my point was when they come to take lessons, I see how ill-equipped they are. Even some people are already working and doing gigs. I ask them to play a so-and-so chord or so-and-so scale, and there's all these holes in their playing. You know, so I think if you can fill the holes up, you know, and learn all the basic stuff, get all your basic voicings down, your chords down, learn to read, learn the some piano technique. Then when you pick up somebody else's book or decide you're going to go to Berkeley or Juilliard or something, you know, you have the chops to get in.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of things. You're doing a lot of teaching. You're also creating now this jazz dance music and the smooth jazz. And so, yeah, it sounds like you're still very much exploring different avenues of music.
Yeah. Well, it keeps me alive. Music feeds me since I was a youngster. You know, I just thrive on it. It's like food.
Thank you very much for zooming in with us here today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm happy if I could shed a little bit of enlightenment, a little bit of, you know, storytelling or whatever experiences. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
It's been great seeing the jazz world, I guess, through your eyes and actually growing up through when, some of the jazz giants were around as well.
Oh, man, I got to see them all. Yeah, Charlie Parker, I saw them all. Art Tatum, everybody. You know, it was a great time. Great time. That's not my real last name, though.
It's not your real last name?
No. It's Domahowski.
So how come you chose Howe?
What would you do with a name like that when you're in the piano playing business?